The promise in the altar, a vow stronger than death. What if love could reincarnate? What if an obsession could carry over? The story of O-Tei asks a terrifying question. Is a love that powerful a blessing or a curse? This tale, born from the folklore of 19th century Japan, unfolds in an era when ancient beliefs were confronting the relentless march of a modernizing world. It is a ghost story unlike any other, not a narrative of violent haunting, but of a quiet, solemn promise so potent it bent the fundamental rules of life and death. It explores the profound and unsettling consequences of a vow that refused to be silenced by the grave. At the heart of this tale is not merely a romance, but a vow made at the fragile boundary between existence and oblivion, a promise that set into motion an extraordinary and supernatural chain of events. In the town of Niigata, Nagao Chosei, the 19-year-old son of a physician, was betrothed to a 15-year-old girl named O-Tei. Their future, arranged and full of promise, was tragically erased when O-Tei was struck by a fatal consumption. On her deathbed, she called Nagao to her side. With a gentle, dreamy voice, she explained that her frail body would only have been a cause of trouble and grief, and that she could not have been a good wife. When Nagao, in his sorrow, offered the conventional solace that they would meet again in the Pure Land, the Buddhist paradise where souls find rest and await their next rebirth, free from earthly suffering, O-Tei gently corrected him. Her rejection of this spiritual destiny was the story's inciting incident. This was an act of shūnen, a Japanese concept for a powerful, clinging persistence or obsession that can transcend death. Driven by this force, she articulated a shocking, worldly prophecy. "Nay, nay, I meant not the Pure Land. I believe that we are destined to meet again in this world." She explained that she would be reborn as a girl, and that he must wait 15, 16 years for her to grow into a woman once more. Crucially, O-Tei made her return conditional not on fate, but on his will. Her return was not a certainty, but an act that required his active participation, providing, indeed, that you wish it. Though stunned, Nagao pledged himself to the vow, promising to wait for 7 existences. Yet his practical mind harbored doubt. He asked for a sign or token by which he might recognize her. She could offer none, but she affirmed her certainty one last time. "But I am sure that, if you be not unwilling to receive me, I shall be able to come back to you. Remember these words of mine," she whispered, and then she passed away. To fulfill his side of the bargain, however, Nagao would need to do far more than just wait. A promise spoken into the air is a fragile thing, a sentiment lost to time. To bind a spirit across the divide between worlds requires a ritual, a physical act that solidifies intent. This section reveals the precise mechanism that transformed a lover's wish into an unbreakable, supernatural contract. At the center of this ritual is the butsudan, the Japanese Buddhist household shrine. More than mere furniture, the butsudan is the spiritual heart of the home, the sacred space where families honor their ancestors. It is, quite literally, the home to which ancestral spirits are called. Within this altar, Nagao placed a mortuary tablet, or ihai, inscribed with O-Tei's name, an object that serves as the spirit's physical anchor or seat in the world of the living. Then, Nagao performed the story's most critical action. To please O-Tei's spirit and affirm his part of their pact, he wrote a solemn promise to wed her if she could ever return to him in another body. He sealed this document and placed it inside the butsudan, right beside her ihai. This was no mere act of remembrance. Nagao was effectively using the altar as a postbox to the afterlife, delivering his side of the contract directly to her spirit. In Japanese belief, such vows can generate a spiritual force known as gunriki, or vow power. By binding his living, written promise to her spiritual anchor on earth, he created a mutual, karmic tether strong enough to alter reality. The ensuing years, however, brought only sorrow. As an only son, Nagao was obliged to yield to the wishes of his family and accept an arranged marriage. Though he remained a dutiful husband, by degrees her image became dim in his memory. Tragedy followed mercilessly. He lost his parents, his wife, and his only child to disease. Now utterly alone, he abandoned his home and began to wander the land. These sorrows, though deeply personal, serve a clear narrative purpose within the logic of inga, or Buddhist karma. They cleared a karmic path, ensuring that when O-Tei returned, there would be no social or moral obstacles to their union. After 17 years of waiting and sorrow, Nagao's journey would lead him to a remote, sacred place where the impossible was waiting. In Japanese folklore, mountains are often seen as other worlds, sacred, liminal spaces that exist on the boundary between the human and the divine. They are places where the veil between worlds is thin. For a supernatural event of this magnitude to occur, it was necessary for Nagao to leave his ordinary life of grief and enter such a place. 17 years after O-Tei's death, his travels brought him to the remote mountain village of Ikao, a famous hot spring resort. While resting at an inn, a young serving girl entered his room. The moment he saw her, Nagao was overcome by a strange and startling resemblance to the O-Tei he had lost so long ago, whose image had begun to fade from his mind. He summoned the courage to ask her a simple question, building the story to its climax. "Pardon me, what is your native place, and what is your name?" Her answer came immediately, and in the unforgotten voice of the dead. She did not just state her name, she recited the terms of their contract, confirming the precise legalistic mechanism of her return and proving that his ritual act had been received. "My name is O-Tei, and you are Nagao Chosei of Echigo, my promised husband. 17 years ago, I died in Niigata. Then you made in writing a promise to marry me if ever I could come back to this world in the body of a woman. And you sealed that written promise with your seal and put it in the butsudan beside the tablet inscribed with my name. And therefore I came back." The moment she finished speaking, she fell to the floor, unconscious. The promise had been fulfilled, but this shocking reunion would give way to an even more haunting and mysterious reality. While Nagao and the new O-Tei were married and their life was a happy one, the story's true power lies not in its romantic ending, but in its final, chilling mystery. This last act explores the profoundly unsettling implications of a promise kept so completely. After her stunning revelation at the inn, the new O-Tei could never recall what she had told him. Neither could she remember anything of her previous existence. The memory of her past life, which had been mysteriously kindled for that single, necessary moment of recognition, was now extinguished forever. Herein lies the genuine emotional horror of the tale. It is an existential horror, born not of a terrifying ghost, but of Nagao's unique and isolating knowledge. He is cursed with a truth he can never share. He must live the rest of his days as the only person in the world who knows that his wife is a reincarnated spirit, a being whose shūnen was so powerful it bent the laws of inga to return to him, and who then forgot her own divine-like act entirely. This forces us to ask the story's central, unsettling question once more. Was her return a blessing, or was it a curse disguised as one? For O-Tei, living in blissful ignorance, it was a simple blessing. For Nagao, it was the complex, lifelong burden of knowing a miracle he could never speak of.